Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Scott Mizsak, a Technical Specialist here at ATG. Today's webinar is going to talk about the CIM project suite and more specifically how to work more efficiently with your pipe network. So we're going to look at the three tools inside of the project suite that deal with pipe networks. So again, standard problem, you're aware of the dynamic and powerful modeling tools in Civil 3D, but you're always frustrated with how inefficient it is to actually set your model up and update and design using the out-of-the-box tools. So the solution, flat out, the CIM project suite takes pretty much the tools that are built into Civil 3D, and it just allows you to take 2, 3, and combine them into one. Take 2, 3, 4 objects and do a mass switch on it instead of having to do it one at a time. So we take the basic workflow and we just make it better. And so the project suite, it includes stuff for the pipe network, it includes stuff for surveying, it includes stuff for corridors and such, but again today we're only going to be looking at the pipe network tools. So we got 3 tools in the pipe networks. One is part swapper. It'll allow you to swap 1, 2, 3, or all structures at once. It'll allow you to swap out 1, 2, 3, or all pipes at once. It will also allow you to swap out pipes and structures at the same time, whereas out of the box, you're forced to swap out one structure at a time, swap out one pipe at a time. So right there. Part tagger, if you have to do a schedule for your structures and your pipes, this allows you to plug in that information. Instead of having to go into the structure properties and put in the casting and the grate and then the frame and the lid and all that one at a time, this allows us to do it in mass editing. And then finally is Pipe Designer, same situation. I need to change the inverts on 3, 4, 5 structures. I can do all 3, 4, 5 structures at once instead of having to go through one at a time. Hit structure 1, make the adjustments, go to pipe 1, make the adjustments, now go to structure 2, make the adjustments, and then work my way up and down the pipe network. With Pipe Designer, it gives me the ability to mass edit everything in a spreadsheet format. So I can not only see what's happening before I say apply, I can visually see it once I say apply. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the software. And we'll go ahead and start with part tagger. So what I have here is I have a storm schedule, and I see the structure names, I see what type it is, I see the details, rim, sump, invert, out. I also see the grate. Well, I need to come in and I need to change the standard grate to be a more specific grate type instead of just standard. So what I will do is I'll come down. Luckily, my structures are in order. So I'll go ahead and pick on structures, these 2 right here. Oops. I'll get the 2 catch basins and then that manhole, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to launch the CIM project suite and I'm going to launch part tagger. And what this will allow me to do is it shows me that I have 3 structures picked. I have pipes picked, or I don't have pipes picked, but I do have the ability to reference pipes. But I'm going to come in and under structures, I see material, frame, grate, cover, surface adjustment value, sump depth, reference surface, reference alignment, descriptions. All this information is what's in the part properties or the structure properties. So my table over there is for the grate. So what I'm going to do is we're going to actually change do not modify for the frame. But for the grate, I'm going to come in and I'm actually going to make that Scott there. And I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and it will go ahead and update those 3 structures all at once. The best part about this dialog box is I have the ability to say, oh wait, I didn't need those 3, and I can clear or I can come in and say, add more parts. I can select the parts by a network. And so I have the ability to make adjustments. It's clear all. We don't have a remove individual part just yet, but clear all still works pretty decent. So if I need to add one more in there, I'm going to go ahead and add that structure in there too. So now I got four. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Come over to my dialog box, my table, and now I see my 4 structures that were set up to show the grate, or the ones that I've selected now show the grate as Scott. So obviously I can come in and plug in the proper grate for 40/20 catch basin, anything that I need, I can come in and set up. So if I'm responsible for not just saying, hey, there's a 2 foot by 2 foot catch basin here, but what are the materials, what is the bill of material for that catch basin, I can come in and build that. And obviously, with my table, I can come into my table properties. Oops, not table. Yeah, table properties. Sorry about that. And modify that, and I can come in and add other information in there that I need to build a proper schedule. Now, again, I did all of this at one time. I switched to 4 structures, but without the tool, I would have to come into each part, come into structure property, go into part property, and then scroll down, and here is the material, the frame, the grate, the cover, frame height, frame diameter, all that stuff that's available in the tool. I would have to come in manually and adjust that. And there's my grate. There's Scott. Hey, let's change it from standard. So we're going to say apply. Whoops. Standard. Oh, not going to let me change it and make those adjustments on there. So that's part tagger. If you're building a schedule, part tagger is going to make your life a lot simpler, especially when you're talking about frames and grates and all that other information. A lot quicker to modify all your manholes that are similar at once than having to do one at a time. Part swapper. Another tool that, out of the box, you got to pick on one at a time. I want to come in, and let me click on this one. I want to come in and change these 2 manholes into catch basins. Well, if I pick on one, pick on the other one, I can come in and say, oh, where's my swap part? Oh, swap part isn't there. Let's go up here to the contextual ribbon. Hey, here's swap part. Oh, wait a minute, select the network part. As soon as I had 2 selected and I said swap part, it instantly said, hey, I've deselected everything. Now you have to go through and repick what you want. So, picking swap part, hey, there it is when I want to pick out one part. And then when I pick it up here, hey, yep, there it is, one at a time. If you're talking about 5, 6 structures, big whoop-de-doo, not the end of the world. But if you're dealing with something that's got 1,000 structures on it and 1,000 pieces of pipe, guess what? Doing it in mass, going to save some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick those 2, and now I'm going to go back into the project suite, and I'm going to run part swapper. Again, it opens up, it says selection. It shows me that I have 2 structures, 0 pipes. Well, I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick some pipe, because I know that this pipe and that pipe need to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to add the 2 pipes, still with the 2 structures, come back in. I see 2 structures. I see 2 pipes now. From my parts list, I can pick the storm, I can pick the sanitary, or the wonderful standard parts list in there. But let's stick with the storm sewer. And now the replacement structure. Well, let's come through and let's find my catch basin. And here is a 24 by 24 rectangular structure with no frame. Works for me. I like that. To get out of the dialog box on here, it is a double click, not just a single click, so we're going to double click now. And then the replacement pipe, let's go with 30-inch concrete pipe, 30-inch RCP. Double click. Go ahead and say OK. And now this pipe, which I may have accidentally just put it 30 inches to 30 inches, let's go ahead and pipe property. And I see that this is 30-inch concrete pipe. So I changed it from 30 inches to 30 inches. So just to prove that I can do it, I'm going to click on that one, run the project suite, run part swapper again, and I'm going to make it something really big like 60 inches. Now I have 60-inch pipe. Change 7 lines at once, a lot faster than having to click on each one individually. So that's part swapper. Part tagger, part swapper, again, it takes the everyday functionality of Civil 3D, but it allows you to mass edit instead of picking one at a time. Last one is pipe designer. So in this example, hey, my pipe looks pretty decent. Well, maybe except for the 54-inch pipe, 60-inch pipe right there, and then dropping back down to 30 inches here and 36 inches here. So definitely got a design flaw if my pipe at the high end is bigger than at the low end. We'll worry about that later. But let's go ahead and go into Pipe Designer, and we have a wonderful network right here. And we have a small issue, not much, but a small issue right here. We got a pipe going in the wrong direction. We got an invert here that's way too low. Unless you need a 10-foot sump, there's a problem there. So what would I have to do at the beginning? I would have to come to this one, come into Structure Properties, Part Properties, and I would have to come through and look at the sump. Rim to sump height, 27.58 feet, and I would have to make that adjustment. Don't want to do that. And then from there, once I made that adjustment, I'd come in and look at the connected pipes. And I would see that the invert elevations are at a 771.04, center line 772.54, and then the crown 774.04. I could quickly come in and make the adjustment to the elevation there to raise or lower, but that's one at a time. And once I did this, well, I got half the pipe done. Now I got to fix the pipe to adjust the grade and the slope. So if that was fixed, then I'd come into, say, this one, and oops, I want to pick one at a time. Pick on this one, go into pipe property, and here's my property, and I see that, yep, I'm at 1%. Well, maybe I was at like 17.24%, and I'd have to come through and say, hold the start and go at -2%, or hold the end and go at 6%. I'd have to go through this one at a time. And again, if you're only talking about 7 or 8 pieces of pipe and structures, it's not the end of the world to use out of the box. But when you're dealing with a large pipe network system that might be 250, 300 pieces on there, or a large project that's got over 1,000 on there, the more I can mass edit, the faster I'm going to be, the more efficient I'm going to be. Because you always could run into the possibility of fat fingering, and and I just did this 2 days ago, instead of putting in an elevation of 125 feet, I accidentally put in an elevation of 1,025 feet. And when I built my surface, lo and behold, I had a huge hill in the middle of my site for no reason, because I went too fast. Now I have the ability to do 20, 30 at a time and adjust all 20, 30 at once, spend that extra second making sure that I didn't do any typos, hit OK, and it's a lot faster. So I'm going to get out of this, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to run Pipe Designer. So I'm going to go into my tools as soon as my, there we go, my wonderful Zoom thing got in the way. So Project Suite, Pipe Designer. It's going to go ahead and ask me, pick the first connected pipe, just like we're building an alignment out of a pipe network. I'm going to go ahead and pick the first pipe, and then it says pick the next network part. Well, like I said, it's just like building an alignment. I don't have to pick the pipe, then the structure, then the pipe, then the structure. I can come all the way down and just pick the last piece in the line, and it will automatically pick everything in between. So here's what I picked. I picked 4 structures, 3 pieces of pipe. Let's go ahead and we'll get all the way down to this one. So I can fix that invert at the same time. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And it opens up Part Designer in a spreadsheet format. And what I see is I have my 5 structures, 4 pipes. Yep, looks good to me, because there's 5 structures, 4 pipes, highlighted blue. But the first thing I see is I have design methods, slopes, match invert, match crown. Well, there are still some people that are using pipe networks, gravity pipe, to do water main. So maybe I need to match the crown. And then in that case, I have the ability to put in a little factor right there. We're going to go for storm, so we're going to say match inverts, and I can come in and look to see my sumps. Oh, 11.9 feet. Well, we're going to fix that in a second. But I look and I see my inverts coming down, my slopes, or my sumps, my drops, and my slopes. Well, right there, there's a big issue at 2.93%. So let's go ahead and make that 1%. In fact, let's make it all 1%. Just like Excel, I can go ahead and click on that little square in the bottom right corner, and I can copy. Now they're all 1%. Now I come in and I look, and I say apply, and now everything's at 1%. Everything's at least flowing the right direction. I still got a problem with that second pipe, and then the 5th structure, but let's go ahead and fix that. Uh-oh. There we go. So now what I see is I see my drops. 779 drop, 7.79 feet, and then, oh wait, I have a negative drop, or I have a climb in there. So let's go ahead and make a drop of 0.1 from the first structure to the second structure. So let's just slide this back a little bit. Let's give me as much real estate as I can. That's just a little bit more. So now I'm going to say apply. And it was a little small, but it made that 1/10 drop going off that invert. So now what I can do is I can come in and put, hey, give me a 1/10 drop on everything. So now my inverts, 779, 776.89, 774, 772, still maintaining that 1%. And as soon as I say apply, now everything runs in, because it did a 1/10 drop across my network. If I wanted 0, put in 0, drop it down. Say apply, everything adjusted. Last thing I have in here is that last structure that it's got an 11.9 foot sump in it. I don't need an 11.9 foot sump. I need a 0 sump in there. I'm in Minnesota. Any sump's going to freeze and crack the pipe or cause a jam up when it fills up with more snow and debris. So I adjusted the sump to be from 11.9 to 0. I'm going to say apply, and now I'm running a 0 sump. I could do everything based off of inverts on there. So now instead of a 1% across it, I can go with a invert. Well, let's make that a 7. We'll make it a 776.5, because I know that I'm tying into a structure, or this structure is existing. I'm going to tie into it, and I know that the invert is at a 776.5. So instead of coming in a half a foot high, let's just come in at the bottom of the structure and make that adjustment. Well, now I see that my slope is minus 0.75%. So 776. Oops, 75. My numbers are going the wrong way. Oh, Oh, sorry. I'm actually looking at this value thinking that that was changing, and I'm actually changing the value of the pipe itself. So my fault on that. I'll make that back 776.5. And so I do see from the invert in to that structure at a 76.99 to the invert out of 76.50, I do have that drop of 49 hundredths. And now with my invert out on the other side of the pipe, I am at a 0.75%. So if I know the invert elevations that I need, I can put them in there, invert top of pipe, invert bottom of pipe, and then the slope gives me minus 1%, minus 0.75%, 1%, 1%. Make all those adjustments. And then here is the invert of the structures. So 785. Guess what? I have a negative 6-foot sump. So if I say apply, it says, yeah, you can't even do that. So let's make that a 0 sump. Go back to say apply, and everything's there. I made that quick adjustment, and I moved up my entire pipe network. I say apply. Oops. And I keep going the wrong way. There we go. Okay. And there's all my structures. And then make my adjustments as need be. So three tools in the CIM project suite: part swapper, part tagger, and pipe designer. All three take the out-of-the-box tools and allows you to use them, but in mass quantities. The pipe designer takes that ability and then goes one step farther and allows you to see everything in a spreadsheet format so you can look and say, oh, this is how it looks. Oh, I made that adjustment. This is what happened. A lot easier to design a pipe run when I can see everything at once. I can see the inverts, I can see the slopes, I can see the sumps. So the takeaways of this, users should take full advantage of the advanced, dynamic, and powerful tool sets in Civil 3D, but these tools can be frustrating out of the box. CIM Project Suite automates these workflows and saves production team time. And the key thing on this is because the CIM Project Suite uses native Civil 3D and AutoCAD objects and functionality within the software, if you cancel your CIM Project Suite or you send this to a client that doesn't have the CIM Project Suite, it doesn't matter for them. It's not like it's a tool that you need on your machine. One person can have it on the machine, do the design, give it to someone else. They can still see the pipe network without any issues. Again, you can send it off to someone. They don't have to have the CIM Project Suite to have a functional drawing. So it will never lock your design behind a paywall or, hey, if you didn't renew your subscription, all your tools are now locked up and you're in trouble. You want to learn more about the tools? Go ahead and head out to the website, ctcsoftware.com. There's videos on there explaining each of the tools. Other than that, if there's any questions, go ahead and fire away. Up in your ribbon, there should be a chat. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in. And if you don't have any questions, that's all I have for you. Thanks for attending, and keep an eye out on our website for future webinars that pertain to Civil 3D. Not seeing any questions right now, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to close the webinar down here in about 30 seconds. But if you think you might have a question later on, feel free to just jot down my email address there, smizak@atgusa.com. Send it to me. I'd be more than happy to get back to you at my earliest convenience. With that, thanks for attending.